Let's welcome back to Omaha, formally and officially, Dr. Pamela Jolly.
So hello, everyone. Good morning. So I take my assignments very seriously, and I'm so grateful to Willie Barney and the executive, the Empowerment Network. And so when he said, be brief, that's a little hard for me, because whenever I have the opportunity to talk about the importance of legacy wealth, I really want to take advantage of it. I think it's important that you know who someone is before they talk to you about wealth, because wealth is a very intimate relationship with how you define your future. So there are three things that I love more than anything in the world. And if you love any of these three things, I consider you family. Now, family is important because family is your first introduction to business. And the primary purpose of business is to build wealth for its owner. And so I need you to own your legacy where you came from because it matters. And so the three things that I love more than anything in the world are God, business, and Black people. So am I in the midst of family here? Excellent. Cousins, excellent. So as we move forward, I want to talk to you about, one, the Legacy Wealth Initiative started in Omaha. And I've worked with two cohorts, one over the pandemic and one prior. And is anyone here, I'm gonna follow the lead of my brother, is anyone here that was a member of the Legacy Wealth Initiative here in Omaha? Can you stand up? Can you show people that the wealth builders? Hallelujah. So I built the Narrow Road, and the Narrow Road was based on my dissertation. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my dissertation. My dissertation revealed why in our community, faith and finance are partners. The soul, your soul, is wired for growth, but the nervous system is wired for comfort. So think about that. So when you get nervous, what do you do to feel comfortable? Because throughout our 400-year journey here, from 1619 to 2019, and now we're 2022, but the pandemic kind of took away some things from us. Throughout this 400-year journey, there's been a lot for Black people to feel nervous about when it comes to moving forward financially, which is why some of the conversation around wealth triggers us and triggers our trauma. And that's what comes out every generation, that how are we going to deal with that trauma? So think about comfort. Consumption is often comfort. When you feel nervous, when you have a bad day, do you spend money? Have you ever calculated how much you spend? So if consumption is comfort, I want you to think of ownership as self-actualization. Because African Americans were the only people in America who were first owned before they ever could own. So how do you self-actualize that promise of taking full ownership of you? What do you own right now? Now, there's a book called The Hidden Cost of Being African American, and it talks about it was the shift to shift us from focusing on an income gap to a wealth gap. And that shift allowed us to say that there were four things that would accelerate the narrowing of our wealth gap. One of them was increased levels of income. The second one was increased savings. The third was increased ownership. And the fourth was increased inheritance. Can you do any one of those four things? Are you doing any one of those four things? No one here? Yes? Okay. So I'd like us to shift beyond thinking about a gap when it comes to Black wealth. And I want us to recognize that we are taking possession of our journey and defining wealth our way, because investment is transcendence. So, my screen's still not working, but I'm gonna go here. So we're shifting the less than narrative. And so literally, both good and bad financial decisions impact us generationally. Let's say that again. Both good and bad financial decisions impact us generationally. So in the Legacy Wealth Initiative, what we do first is we look at legacy. Because it takes 3 generations to build legacy wealth, only 1 generation to lose it. But when 4 generations come together, the wealth wheel begins to turn. So we look back 4 generations first to get our blueprint so that we can work forward about how we will impact moving forward. And so this pandemic allowed people to take inventory of what really matters. And so when you think about you and your wealth journey, you have 40 years of increasing levels of income to finance 80 plus years of living. And so I'm someone who I have to see it to believe it. And so I wanted to show you so you can see where you are along your journey. 18 years, you're incubated in your family. And you're incubated in your family, and many people tell me, well, you know, I never talked about wealth in my family, so I don't really know. Well, you know what? Your family teaches you 2 things: what to do with money and what not to do with money. So you learn something in your family, and that's your incubation stage. That next stage is another decade where you establish a foundation of skills to create a foundation for how you'll build wealth. That next decade, because wealth in many dimensions can be created in a decade, is when you build a lifestyle with increasing levels of financial responsibilities. This is where you buy a home. This is where you get promoted. This is where you find your significant other. This is where you move forward. And then you have that next stage where you grow strategic. And that's where you start saying, how am I going to pursue independence? And then you have that last stage between 52 and 62, where you start saying, how am I going to expand my career and leave an imprint? What is my leadership going to leave? So that when you hit 62, prayerfully, you can draw down on 40 years of living to generate the next step in your wealth journey, which is retirement. And you can pass the torch to move. What I just showed you that you can't see, that I wish you could, right? Is that you have 4 generations of financial impact in your lifetime. That you are a wealth builder that can change the game, just like my brother shows you. Financially, you can make an impact. It's not about what you don't have, it's about what you do have. But when we take full ownership of that, our confidence goes to another level. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want everyone to stand up, because I'm talking about it, and because I'm visual, I don't know if you can see it, but I need to see you, and I need to see the wealth builder in you. So listen, here's the deal. When I say something, if it is an affirmative, stay standing. If you can't say yes, sit down. The next thing I say, if you can say yes, stand back up. You get it? Okay. So, do you have a written budget? Yes. Do you have a written budget that you follow? Yes. Are you planning for retirement? Yes. Are you saving money? Yes. Do you have a written budget that you record and review monthly? Yes. Do you have financial goals that you share with your closest friends and family? Yes. Do you have financial goals that you believe in? Yes. Do you have a plan for wealth creation that has been vetted by an expert? Do you have an investment plan? Do you have a financial advisor that you trust and understand and connect with regularly? And he's black. How about that? Thank you. Do you have financial goals that are measurable and timed? Because I just took the decades of your life. Do you have a clear definition of wealth that you believe in, enough to share with anyone and everyone, no matter how they will react? Will your financial legacy live on beyond you? Do you have a retirement plan that you are excited about? Are you leaving and receiving an inheritance? And this is important, and I encourage you to follow my brother and get into his cohort, because is your life speaking your financial truth? Like, if I look at your lifestyle and look at your balance sheet, do I see some things? Is it positive? Okay. Are you confident your financial strategies will sustain your desire for financial independence? Are you managing your personal business as well as your professional one? Are your friends and family elevating their standard of business to match your values and beliefs? Can you see where your legacy will pass on for future generations? Okay, so this is an exercise. It wasn't just calisthenics, right? I wasn't just asking you to get up and get down because my slides ain't working. What I wanted you to see is that all of us, to some degree, have some unfinished business when it comes to building wealth our way. And so when we finish that unfinished business in a very structured and nurturing way, we start to feel better about ourselves. And that's what we do in the Legacy Wealth Initiative. We basically narrow our focus to what we must do to elevate our standard to build wealth so that we can put our wealth mask on first and then contribute to our community in wealth-building ways. When you have savings and investment and you are confident of your definition of wealth, guess what? You don't just want to do it for yourself. You want to do it with your friends. I'm proud to say that our second cohort just pulled capital together and is intending to acquire assets as a collective to build wealth. Now, before they did it, they had to save, they had to check all these items off their list. Because the reality of the bigger picture is, some of that can be overwhelming when you see that long list. And if you could see my slides, you would see I was able to break it down into steps, and that's what we do in the cohort. But it's one step at a time, one day at a time until it is time. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by any gap that somebody says is going to take 246 years to fill, because that's not yours. 90% of that gap is systemic. What I want you to do is take ownership of your own gap, commit to closing it, build a wealth group of friends and family, encourage them to join your journey, get to your community, and encourage them to elevate the standard. And then we can make wealth as a legacy to find our way. No more having other people tell us it's an insurmountable goal. What I want you to do is build it for yourself. So see yourself as an inheritor, because everyone here inherits something. Whether it's a quote, whether it's a phrase, whether it's a gold coin that you haven't taken time to value, that they've given you something. My grandfather gave me his baseball mitt. My cousins were like, oh, that's all she got. Well, there was money in every single finger. And so as I close, there's a reason why you hadn't seen my slides. If you want to, come to my breakout. But in the end, listen, you are a wealth builder right now, today. And you are a creator of wealth for others just by simply walking in a room and showing your value and buying from different stores. But what I want you to do is commit to elevating your standard to that next level. We can do more. We can be more. I know the heart that's in this room because I know the heart and the spirit that's in Willie Barney and the Empowerment Network. And I know the plans that God has for us as a community, but I also know that seed planted in fertile ground reaps a 30, 60, and 100-fold return. And we must be that return on investment that our ancestors made when they died trying, knowing that one day we would. All right? I hope to see you further down the road.
I believe my mic is on. If that blessed you, can you stand to your feet and let's celebrate Dr. Pamela Jolly for breaking it down for us?